How a Labour government would tackle the migrant crisis. Last night, Shadow Cabinet member Peter Kyle responded to the Rwanda vote by tweeting their 5-point plan. It's on the screen now and I'll read it out. It's this. 1. Cracking down on people smuggling gangs through a new cross-border police unit. 2. Clearing the asylum backlog by recruiting new staff. 3. A new returns agreement with France and other countries. 4. Reforming legal routes for refugees to stop them being exploited by gangs. And 5. Tackling humanitarian crises at source by helping refugees in their own regions. Well, I'm joined now by former Chief Immigration Officer at UK Border Force, Kevin Saunders. Kevin, always a pleasure to have you on the show. So at last, Labour have unveiled a plan, if not officially. You may have heard me reading it out there. I wonder what your take is on this. It sounds to me expensive and doesn't sound to me like there's a real clear way of stopping the boats or stopping illegals coming.
Hello, Martin. Yeah, I've got the plan in front of me as well. Well, crack down on criminal smuggler gangs with a new cross-border police unit. No, that won't work because British police can work in Great Britain. They can't work overseas. That's down to a local police force. Clear the backlog and end hotel use within 12 months. I don't know what planet they're on with. They've come up with this one. You have to train, you have to recruit the staff, you have to train the staff, you have to pay them properly, and you have to stop the staff from leaving, none of which they'll be able to do in a year. Have a new agreement with France and Europe? Well, we've been trying to do that for God knows how long. You speak to the French and say, we want a new deal with you over returns. They say, don't speak to us, speak to Brussels. That's always the answer. If you can't negotiate with single European countries, you've got to negotiate directly with Brussels. Reform resettlement routes? Well, I don't actually know what that means. Tackle humanitarian crisis at source? Yeah, that's a good idea. So out of the 5 things that Labour have said, tackle the crisis at source is probably the only one that holds water.
OK, so you give it a 1 out of 5, Kev. I thought we were heading for a nil point scenario there, but you gave them 1 out of 5. You're in a charitable mood. Actually, the one that you think is a good idea, I'd like to talk more about, because I think it's a terrible idea, and I'll explain why. Tackling humanitarian crises at source by helping refugees in their own regions, to me, means sending huge amounts of money to any country in the world that has a humanitarian crisis. It may be a war, it may be a natural disaster, call it what it is. That, to me, Kev, sounds like foreign aid on steroids.
Well, it wouldn't just be the United Kingdom. It would have to be either the EU and Great Britain or the UN. I mean, we do know that probably 80% of refugees like to stay very close to their own country. So I don't see there's a problem with giving them aid to stay in their own areas. Much sooner do that than pay out millions and millions of pounds every day to have them in the UK.
Yeah, I suppose that wouldn't work, for example, if it was a war-torn country, for example, they wouldn't want to stay there. But you are right. And for example, in the Ukraine crisis, most people that evacuated Ukraine went into the immediate borderline countries and then quickly returned rather than going halfway around the world. The one you didn't understand there, I spoke to a human rights lawyer earlier in the show, Kev, and that's reforming legal routes for refugees to stop them being exploited. What he meant by that, I think, was imposing safe legal routes. So the ability for people to be able to apply for asylum in the UK while they're not in the country, which would stop people coming here illegally. So anybody anywhere in the world can apply for asylum to come here. I guess the flaw with that, Kev, is that would be it'd be a huge pull factor for more to apply.
Everybody would be applying to come to here. You'll have half of Palestine applying to come here, wouldn't you? And they would all be classed as genuine refugees because there's a war going on there. So we've heard the talk of safe routes before. If you're going to have safe routes, Parliament needs to decide how many people you're going to let come into the UK, where they're going to be allowed to come from, and then what you do with the people, the extra people that then turn up afterwards. So, it's just, to me, it's just talk. There doesn't seem to be anything behind it.
All right, Kev, let's do a quick bit of role play. So just say that you're not the former Chief Immigration Officer of Border Force, but you are the current Chief Immigration Officer at UK Border Force. Keir Starmer has just been elected as the Prime Minister. He hands you this immigration policy we've just talked about. What do you say to him?
It won't work. I would have to ask him to have a look at it. I mean, Keir Starmer's a lawyer. He must understand that why the first one won't work and why you can't have British police working in Turkey or Iran, where the smugglers are based. I mean, we know where the smugglers are. It's a question of trying to catch the smugglers and getting the local police to actually prosecute them, because the NCA can't prosecute people in Turkey, and the NCA have already told everybody that they can't do anything unless there is a major deterrent in the UK. Now, one of the deputy directors of the NCA was a very senior Border Force director at Southeast Ports in Europe. And this guy knows more about immigration than most. And, he's leading at the NCA. And if he doesn't think it'll work, well, goodness gracious, what hope have they got?
Well, there we have it. Former Chief Immigration Officer at UK Border Force, Kevin Saunders, has just ruled his thumb over Keir Starmer's immigration plan and has said it won't work.